Buen día y bienvenido. Ya estamos al final del semestre y estamos en la lección 10 y vamos a hablar del imperfecto, que es el otro tiempo pasado. Okay, so we have spent the majority of the semester going over the preterite and all its forms and irregularities on how to form it, and we used it to explain actions that occurred in the past. So they were completed actions. For example, ¿cómo fue? Tuve mucho dolor en ese momento. And so that happened at the moment. It's a done and gone occasion. So como era, me dolía todos los días. Here we see a new form of the verb, era y me dolía, which is the other past tense, otherwise known as the imperfecto. Imperfect expressions are used in many different instances. And in another video, we'll compare the two, both the imperfect and the preterite. But here's some general ideas of when to use the imperfect. But I do want to mention before that imperfect are often used to express habitual or repeated actions. Sometimes we use the word used to. I used to do this when I was younger. We also use other expressions, and some of those expressions, algunas de estas expresiones útiles son todos o todas, like todos los veranos, todos los años, cada sábado, cada lunes, cada mes, a veces, raras veces, algunas veces, no está en mi lista, siempre, nunca, a menudo, mientras, o de niño, de niña. So these are very common expressions that are used, not to say 100% of the time, but are used often with the imperfect. Now, as I mentioned, imperfect is used for habitual or repeated actions, like íbamos al parque los domingos. We used to go to the park on Sundays. We use them as events or actions that were in progress at a time in the past. Like yo leía mientras él estudiaba. So I was reading while he was studying. We have two actions that were occurring, were going on in the past at the same time. We use the imperfect to describe physical characteristics in the past, like era alto y guapo, so he was tall and handsome. But also for mental and emotional states, so something like quería mucho a su familia, so he loved his family very much. We could say something like estaba enferma, she was sick. That's more of a physical characteristic. Well, it's not really, it's more of a condition, I guess, in the past. Okay, so we also use it with telling time in the past, like eran las 3:30, so it was 3:30. Eran la medianoche cuando por fin me dormí, so it was midnight when finally I fell asleep. And always age. Age is always imperfect. So los niños tenían 6 años, so the children were 6 years old. Okay. Now, how do we form that? We see things like leía, estudiaba, quería, tenían. And then we see things like íbamos, era, eran. Okay, so like the preterite, there are some irregulars, but what I really like about the imperfect is the majority of the verbs are normal. Okay, so AR verbs are going to end in aba. ER and IR verbs are going to share the same endings, ia. So we have things like cantaba, cantabas, cantaba, cantábamos, cantaban, bebía, bebías, bebía, bebíamos, bebían, and escribía, escribías, escribía, escribíamos, escribían. So all verbs are normal, even the verb haber. Like, you know, hay cuatro estudiantes en la clase hoy. So there are 4 children or 4 students in class today. Or there were 4 students yesterday. Había 4 estudiantes ayer. Okay? There are 3 verbs that are irregular. Only 3. ir, ser, and ver. So ir is iba, and then we add the appropriate endings. Iba, ibas, like the two form except for preterite, typically ends with an S. Iba, so yo, él, ella, usted, they have the same form. So yo iba, usted iba, él iba, ella iba. Nosotros íbamos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes iban. Ser is era, eras, era. Era, eras, era. Éramos, eran, sorry. And ver is veía, veía, veías, veía, veíamos, veíamos, perdón, veía. Okay. So those are the only three that are irregular in the imperfect. So it makes it really nice as compared to the preterite. We've spent all semester learning the forms. So some other examples are cuando tenía 6 años conocí a mi primer novio. So when I was 6 years old, I met my first boyfriend. Todos los veranos, mi familia y yo íbamos a la playa. So every summer, my family and I used to go to the beach. Mientras Maribel estudiaba, Andrés estaba en el hospital. So while Maribel was studying, Andrés was in the hospital. Los niños estaban jugando en el parque cuando Isabel se cayó. So the children were playing in the park when Isabel fell down. Now in the next video, we're going to talk about the differences between the imperfect, which is used to describe actions that are seen by the speaker as incomplete or continuing, or express what was happening at a certain time or how things used to be, where the preterite is describing actions that have been completed, or in other words, express a completed action. So here we have Bob Esponja. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre el pretérito y el imperfecto? That's how it should be. Or they should have entre pretérito e imperfecto. Okay, so that will be the next video. Gracias.